This is Teachers Talk Radio, and you are listening live.
Hello, and welcome to the home of Education Conversation. This is the Monday morning break. I'm Kando Kutik, your host. Today, I'll be looking at challenges faced by early career English language teachers, and I'm going to speak to somebody from Vietnam.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and you are listening live. Tune in live at ttradio.org, or to join in the conversation, download the Podbean app and search Teachers Talk Radio. Follow the hashtag TTRadio. Tune in, talk it out with Teachers Talk Radio.
So, hello everyone, welcome again, and thank you for tuning in to our show. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget you can find our schedule on our website www.ttradio.org. Also on the website, you will find all our past shows uploaded and saved as podcasts. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for supporting Teachers Talk Radio. So, this year on Teachers Talk Radio, we've had an amazing, even if I say so myself, an amazing variety of shows covering all, or almost all, shall I say, aspects of teaching and subjects. I'd like to run through them really quickly. There's a reason for this. It might sound like I'm just rambling into nothingness, but there is a reason for this. So aspects of teaching and subjects, right? So we've looked at the sciences. We've looked at religious education, music, English language, different aspects of English language. So as a second language, English in English medium schools in English-speaking countries, English as a foreign language, English as an additional language. We looked at international schools. We explored schools in the US, in Australia. We've explored also not just the subjects, but we've explored teacher research, teacher well-being. We had a conversation about the well-being of male teachers on International Men's Day. And we've also had a range of sponsored shows sponsored by our current advertiser, our current sponsor, John Catt. We've had shows. We had one sponsored by Parentkind, where we talked about parental involvement in schools. We looked at the magic of great classrooms. That's a show that I did with John Catt author Roy Blatchford. We looked at leadership. And our guests join us from all over the world, really, enabling us to bring you insights and narratives from different cultures and different education systems. I mean, we're not all the same, are we? And in that vein, to, carry on the ethos of Teachers Talk Radio with stories from teachers about teaching, about their classroom, teachers everywhere. My guest today is a language teacher, just like me, who's actually currently a lecturer and involved in teacher education, and he's based in Vietnam. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do a little bit of an East meets West thing as we explore, compare, and talk about our education systems, challenges, societal differences, and, expectations on teachers.
This show is brought to you in partnership with John Catt Educational, publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. Don't miss out. Level up your professional development today and visit johncattbookshop.com to explore the full range of titles. Use the code JCTTR2425 for 20% off your order. Happy reading.
Parentkind are a national charity representing parent views and voice and championing parental participation in education and school life. By fostering strong school-parent partnerships, we can boost student attendance, improve behaviour and enhance academic performance. When parents actively participate, students thrive. Join the movement that's reshaping education for the better. Visit parentkind.org to learn more about reaping the rewards of working in partnership with parents.
Are you ready to enhance your assessments in a world where AI is transforming education? Join Toddle for an exclusive event, Designing Assessments with AI, a live session tailored just for UK educators. Explore practical strategies to keep your assessments both effective and fair as AI continues to reshape education. Hear from experts Darren Coxon and Dale Bassett, who'll guide you through designing authentic assessments and navigating AI's biggest challenges. It's happening on December the 2nd from 4 to 6:30 p.m. Don't miss out on this opportunity to discover how you can adapt your assessment strategies for the future of education. Register for free at toddleapp.com/UKAI and secure your spot now.
Hey educators, ready to kickstart 2025 with world-class inspiration? Then don't miss Bet UK, happening January 22nd to 24th in London. Get fired up in our high-energy arena hosted by Laura McInerney with an incredible lineup. Hear from racing driver and inclusion advocate Nicholas Hamilton and the poetic power duo Michael Rosen and Christian Foley. Plus, don't miss the legendary Stephen Fry discuss the human approach to AI. Explore hundreds of hours of unmissable content, the latest edtech, and free CPD opportunities to supercharge your skills. All for free, so why wait? Head to betshow.com and book your ticket now. Let's make 2025 your best year yet.
Teachers Talk Radio will also be at the Bet Show, and in addition to, people like Lewis Hamilton and Stephen Fry, you'll get to meet the Teachers Talk Radio team. I'll be there. My other hosts will be there. Come and speak with us. Maybe you'll go away and decide to join us as a guest or even become a host yourself. So anyway, coming back to what we're talking about today, coming back to today's show, we're focusing on early career EFL teachers, and EFL then, referring to teachers who work in schools in countries where English is taught in mainstream schools as either a second, additional, or foreign language. Okay, that's what our focus is really today, but I'm going to be talking a little about the other route and the other type of EFL teaching that goes on in the world. Now, before we go into more detail about the language classroom itself, I'd like to talk about language teacher education for those who don't know, or for those who I don't know, maybe want a reminder of what language teacher education is, specifically for teaching English as a foreign language, EFL, and really I'm using EFL here for the sake of simplicity. It really does mean any type of English you're teaching, if, when not teaching native speakers. So broadly speaking, there are two routes into EFL. There's initial teacher education undertaken in the prospective teacher's home country at a university as part of a degree. And then there's the certificate and diploma pathway, usually taken by those who've completed a degree, sometimes more. And many take this route if they want to teach abroad after their first degree, or if they're looking for a career change. So those are the two, just really broad. There are other pathways, that there's other, in different countries, you may have different licensure requirements, but broadly it's either, on a teacher education program at a university or on a certificate or diploma program. Now, whatever the route, language teacher education deals with the processes of language teaching. So teacher candidates are expected to acquire the knowledge and develop a skills base for language teaching. Okay, but the question obviously is, what exactly is this knowledge that we impart to our, teacher candidates, and what skills really do our candidates acquire? And we can distinguish between disciplinary knowledge and knowledge for teaching. Now, I'm not going to talk so much about the disciplinary knowledge on certificate programs, because that's not my forte. And my guest, who's already here, what we want to look at really is the knowledge that teacher candidates receive, that they acquire on their degree program. So that's what we're going to focus on. So if I take my own teacher candidates as an example, disciplinary knowledge would be courses in the structure of the English language. So my students take courses in morphology, phonetics and phonology, history of the English language I had in one university that I taught, and then also a range of seminars, courses on English literature and cultural studies, right? So that to build that content knowledge, everything about English and the English language. And knowledge for teaching, on the other hand, focuses on pedagogy and methodology, knowing what to do in the classroom and how to do it. And in my conversations with teacher educators and candidates based in different parts of the world, I've noticed that we're all familiar with the same canon of research and writing on EFL. You put 5 language teachers at a table at dinner in an Italian restaurant and ask them what books they've read, or their favorite authors, and you'll find that they've all read more or less the same authors. We all know the same 300 over authors. However, right, we have to remember that teaching knowledge needs to be contextual, contingent, and developmental. So what I'm saying, and what we're going to see, or not necessarily see, but hear when I speak with my guests, is that what we're going to hear is that in many places, this disciplinary knowledge and this pedagogical knowledge that's imparted could possibly be a very Western-centric view of teaching. I mean, the authors all based in the Anglo-American world and writing, from their experiences. Teaching knowledge actually should be in person and in place. Now, in person doesn't mean, we've all kind of recently, we were all in the COVID pandemic together, and I found that after the pandemic, the phrase in person really literally began to mean, the opposite of the virtual environment. Here in this case, that's not what we mean, not, the distinction with the virtual environment. It should be very personalized and also very contextualized. Now, someone once told me, and this is going to be a double reported speech, someone once told me that they had been told that what was taught in one of the more reputable certificate courses for EFL could not be applied wholesale to their African context. And that's what we're going to focus on today. We need to situate disciplinary and pedagogical knowledge in the person of the teacher, in the place of the classroom, the school, and the community. And my guest today is Ngo Duc Huy, a teacher based in Vietnam. And we're going to explore all these issues of contextualized, in-person, in-place teacher education and the challenges that our novice teachers experience when they go into the classroom.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and this is Teachers Talk Radio News.
The BBC covers reports that Australia will ban children aged under 16 from using social media after its Senate approved the world's strictest bans. The ban, which will not take effect for at least 12 months, could see tech companies fined the equivalent of £25.7 million if they don't comply. The Australian Prime Minister says the legislation is needed to protect young people from the harms of social media, something echoed by parents' groups. Critics say questions over how the ban will work and the impact it may have on privacy and social connection have been unanswered. The Australian ban sets the highest age limit by any country and does not include exemptions for existing users or those with parental consent. The votes passed by 34 votes to 19, and full details can be found on the BBC News website. In a linked story, The Independent reports that just 18% of teachers think a phone ban would improve pupil behaviour, according to a recent poll. More than 2 in 5 teachers agree that mobile phones can be a teaching tool within schools. The survey of 1,001 UK teachers also suggested that only 20% feel unauthorised mobile phone use disrupts their classroom frequently, whilst the most disruptive behaviours were listed as student chatter, fidgeting and disrespect to other students. The YouGov poll also asked for teaching's top measures for improving behaviour, with the majority suggesting reducing class sizes and increased support for pupils with behavioural challenges. Further details on this aspect of the issue of mobile technology can be found on the newspaper's website. Schools Week also reports on an aspect of the recruitment issue. A report on head teacher recruitment says schools in the Northwest are the most likely to be isolated and shut out from attracting the best head teachers. The Education Policy Institute found current and future head teachers tend to work only in connected communities and were unlikely to move for work outside of those areas. This creates isolated schools left without the best head teachers. The Northwest had the largest proportion of isolated primary schools, whilst isolated secondary schools were concentrated in the West Midlands, the East of England and the South East. London attracts more than half of the most effective primary leaders. The North East is also revealed as disproportionately successful in developing and attracting highly effective head teachers, despite having a smaller share of the overall teacher workforce. It attracts the highest proportion of the most effective secondary school heads at 23%, and also trains 1/5 of the EPI ranked head teachers on whether they improved their school's test or exam results, and then checked how schools were led in terms of other metrics such as pupil progress, teacher retention and school attendance. A researcher for the EPI said the research showed government needs to encourage more localised movement across schools, and Academy Trust should consider how they grow and deploy leaders in order to spread best practice. Finally, the BBC features a report on a 49-year-old exercise book. The book, discovered in a drawer of a school desk in Cornwall, has been returned to its former owner after it was discovered over half-term. The front cover of the book was shared on social media, and the owner was invited back to the school to be reunited with his property. The book was labelled Roman Studies and contained detailed sketches of an amphitheatre, Roman bathing systems and cities. The presentation of the book was exceptional, and the teacher who discovered it felt it deserved to be returned to its former owner. When the owner was asked what he might do with the book, he replied, "I was thinking of putting it in a drawer somewhere." This has been your Teachers Talk Radio News with Joe Fox.
So those were some really, really interesting stories out of the educational world. The social media ban, what do you think of that? That was very big news, actually. That's really, really big news. Something, that we need to think about, right? Our young people and how social media is affecting them. Anyway, let's get down to business. Well, not so much business, but let's get talking. This is the home of education conversation. And Hui, my guest today, Ngo Duk Hui. Hui, welcome to the show. We're so glad that you could join us. You made it through heavy, heavy rain. You've just come off
Heavy
the work.
rain and heavy traffic, but
Oh my God,
thankfully I
heavy.
made it. Once
You've
again,
just
it's an honor here. Yeah,
Oh, well, we're honored to have you.
yeah,
I mean, what with the time zone differences and things
yeah.
like that. How was your day? You've just come after work?
Yeah, I spent the entire morning with my research paper, which is going somewhere, hopefully, and and the afternoon teaching two classes, and yeah, pretty
Okay.
tiring day. And I just caught a cold this morning. That's why
Oh,
like I'm gonna sound like a little bit weird. So I hope you don't mind.
okay. Well, I mean, I don't know about the weird, but you sound at the moment you sound perfectly fine. It might be a bit
Thanks.
difficult to distinguish whether you're crying or it's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
effect of your cold. But
Yeah.
anyway, let's start. Let's start. I'm sure my audience would now love to hear from you. Listening to me talk so much about language teacher education at the beginning. We want to contextualize that now.
Mhm.
And we're going to talk about challenges faced by early career EFL teachers in Vietnam and how they navigate these challenges. Right. So, first of all, could you outline for us the routes that teachers take or young people in Vietnam
Yeah.
from leaving high school
Mhm.
as students to then finally going back to school as a teacher? What's the route? How do
Yeah.
they become teachers?
So thanks for the question. The common rule for a high school graduate who would like to, who dreams of becoming an English teacher will be something like this. So right after they graduate from high school, they can join like an English teaching major. Which lasts roughly 4 years. And in the first 2 years, they'll be studying the main modules, like mostly about the theories relevant to English teaching, psychology, and the remaining 2 years will be spent on practicum teaching. So they will be assigned to a particular local secondary or high school where
Mm-hmm.
they'll be spending their semester there with an instructor who is a senior teacher at that specific school, who are in charge of guiding the student teachers to practice their teaching skill by working with the actual students.
Okay. And
Yeah,
and you say so in this practicum phase when they're in the local schools,
yeah.
do they work then alongside the senior teachers, or do they have the opportunity to take responsibility of a class? Can they teach their own classes? Just for comparison, like my students, they also have a practicum phase during their studies, but a lot of them tell us that whether or not they get to teach their own class entirely, it really depends on the school.
Yes.
There's no
I,
rule, there's
yeah.
no policy.
Mhm. So, from my experience, yeah, so I think it's basically similar to yours. It's highly dependent on the particular policy or culture of the school itself. But from my experience, like the student teacher will have a chance to walk along with the instructor teacher. So weekly they will be assigned to teach a particular number of classes, observed by the instructor, who will be like sitting at the back of the class. And later on, the instructor will be providing like the student teachers with the feedback regarding their performances.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. That's interesting. I think it's very interesting also for me, also as a point of comparison that so young people, they enroll in a 2-year program, a 4-year program, right? So 2 years would be all the theory, like you said, psychology, things about probably also like we have here structure of the English language and lots of information on second language acquisition methodology, and then the other 2 years they go in as trainee teachers, you would say, and then they graduate. Have I understood that correctly?
Yeah, correctly.
Yeah. So in Germany we do they do a 3-year degree that covers similar things, similar subjects, similar modules that you've mentioned, including our students, they always train to teach 2 teaching subjects. So this is at secondary school level. If they want to become secondary teachers, they pick 2 school subjects and they study that. And then in addition to those 2 school subjects, they take education science. And then that's where they have modules like you mentioned, psychology. We have the history of education, and then so that's their BA stage. Then they write a dissertation. They choose any one of their 3 subjects to write their dissertation on, and then they go into the master stage. And in the master stage they spend 1 semester, which is half a year. They spend 1 semester at a school, just like what your teacher candidates do for 2 years, and then they qualify. They finish their masters, and then they have a 1-year practicum period in the school, after which they are then qualified formally. So ours is a bit longer, but I think from what I hear, very, very theoretical, like yours. So let's go and talk about what happens then. Do you want to talk about the teachers in their practicum stage, or do you want to just do you want to just talk about the ones who've qualified and are now novice teachers in school? What shall we focus on?
Let's focus on like the the novice teacher who has just like started their career.
Okay, so just qualified. So
Yeah.
to begin there, what I found very interesting in a conversation that you and I have had is that whole societal societal no, I can't think of a word. I'm so sorry. We talked about the pronouns, right? We talked about the
Yeah.
pronouns. So
Yeah.
I can't think of a word for it. But can you just, for our listeners, because we don't know a lot about Asian, Southeast Asian, East Asian societies. So could you share with us again what you told me about the terms of address? So listeners, I'd spoken to Hui, and we realized that one thing that very much influences how teachers at different levels of experience, levels of hierarchy in the school, and so on, how they interact with each other, that's very much governed by a system of pronouns. And Hui is going to tell us about that now.
Okay, so thanks. Here it is. So in our culture, we often address a person who is more knowledgeable than us, more experienced than us, and we use like the sort of pronouns like thầy or cô. Thầy is mean like a female, like a male teacher, and cô is mean like a female teacher. And in our mindset, that is what we use to address the people that we want to learn something from them. And in the case of the novice teachers that I got a chance to interview, they use the same way of addressing when they talk to like a more experienced and more seasoned colleagues in their own school context. So even when these novice teachers, they are actually teachers themselves, right? But when they interact with the seniors colleagues at their school, they will refer to those colleagues as thầy or cô, which reflects like some kind of like hierarchy in the mindset of these novice teachers.
Yeah, and it's imposed by society, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
imposed by society that there is an expectation on the part of society. You can't just address, people by their first names, and even among friends, right? Even amongst equals, you have those different pronouns that you use depending on whether the person is, younger than you or older than you.
yeah.
And then if you're the same age, you still have particular pronouns that you use. So that's part of societal, of what's prescribed, so to speak, by society. So you've got Tai for the male
Hmm.
teachers or novices. Let's just recap this for our listeners. So novice teachers who've just come into a school would then address a male teacher who's not a novice as Tai, and a female teacher who's not a novice. I don't necessarily want to say who's higher up in the hierarchy, but a more senior teacher as Go. In turn, now this is where it gets interesting. Hui, in turn, how do these senior teachers address the novices? Just
Okay.
tell us, and then I'll tell
All
you
right.
why I find it so interesting.
Yeah, this is to show you like how complicated the system of pronouns in Vietnam, in Vietnamese, in the Vietnamese language can be. So from the perspective of the seasoned colleagues, seasoned experienced teachers, they will refer to the novice teachers as em, or even gong. Yeah, and like am is like when you the word am is when you use it to address somebody who is younger than you, and who seems less experienced than you. And gong is even like I would say lower, like the pronouns gong is just like when a father and when a parent try to talk to their children, they will say gong. But the same pronouns can be used by the experienced teachers. They will use it to talk to address the novice teachers.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why, when you first mentioned it to me, I thought that was really interesting because I come from a Vietnamese background. My mother is Vietnamese. I grew up in Singapore in Southeast Asia. My mother spoke Vietnamese to my brother and I, and my mother always used to call us "con." So
Mm.
when you said when you shared with me that that's what the senior teachers would, use to address the novice teachers, my first thought was, oh, so that's kind of like um, a parent-child relationship, because I don't know anybody else. I mean, I've only been to Vietnam once, and I've got some other Vietnamese friends, but nobody I know apart from my mother has ever used that pronoun "gone." And then
Yeah.
you mentioned "am," right? And
Uh-huh.
I remember that I used to address my younger brother as "am." Well, we would say "am bear."
Oh yeah.
um, but that's because he's my younger brother. So, Amber, and when you said that, it's it's just so. I mean, on the one hand, I find that it's so familiar, those terms, gone and am, but it kind of reflects how it reflects the dynamic, isn't it? The senior teacher and the novice teacher. That the novice is not just younger, but also there to learn, or it's like the child to learn from somebody more senior.
Precisely.
Um, so my question is, then how does that impact? How do these pronouns, right, reflecting the societal hierarchy, how does it affect the psyche, or how does it contribute to the challenges faced by novice teachers who've just gone into the teaching system?
Mhm. So thanks for the question. So that really like it has like a huge of like influence on how the novice teachers position themselves in the school environment, because when they use those kind of pronouns to address their senior teachers, it is trying to like to send like a message or reflecting their own belief in their own like sense of authority or power within their school. So and it reflects something like okay, so I'm new here and I have a lot to learn from you, and I do not have a lot of confidence in which teaching practices that I should be applying to teach my actual student. So I have to learn a lot from you. So one of the novice teachers that I talked to, she was really affected by this. All right, so she perceived herself as somebody with almost zero confidence in choosing the particular teaching methods or teaching approaches to teach her student. So what she often did during her first semester in the first school, it was to like communicate with her with her experienced colleague about what sorts of actions or protocols that she should be applying. She didn't dare to do that on her own. She has to rely on the advice the advice that are given by the more seasoned experienced colleagues within her English department.
Mm. And that's interesting, isn't it? Because um, they spent 4 years at university. They had 4 years of language teacher education, 2 very theoretical years, and then 2 years in a practicum. And yet, when they come in, they don't have this confidence, or simply, I think, with the terms of address, with the pronouns that are being used, they're not actually shown that, hey, you're qualified now, you're one of us, you're in the profession, and we trust you to do things. Do you see that
Yeah,
as
I
well,
do. I do.
like that? Just to ask very bluntly, before we talk about a different challenge, do you think that will change at any time, or do you think this is such a deep rooted societal prescriptive behavior that as long as we call, we expect people to call senior teachers Tai and Co, and novice teachers are am and gone, that it's really hard to break the mold here.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I really like the phrase like prescriptive behaviors, and about like whether in the future this kind of thing will change or not. I'm not sure. I'm afraid I don't have like a specific answer to your question. But
Mm,
so far, I don't think it will change anytime soon, because that what we usually we as like novice teachers usually perceive ourselves like no, like you said, like no matter like how well prepared in terms of theories or even practices that we were during our higher education years, we still fight like there's something missing. There's something
mm-hmm.
missing that we like that we are dying to learn from
Right.
our colleagues. So and we try to respect that, and we would not try to risk it by like trying something like particularly like new during
Mm-hmm.
our first like let's say like a first semester. Like what funny about this is like there's another novice teacher. She said that like right way before she entered her first school as like a first teaching official teaching job, she has experience as a tutor, as an English, even an English teacher in some in like a local English center. But she was still influenced by the like the so far like what we have been discussing so far, like the hierarchy of the school climate, right? So she felt like she entirely, like forgot how confident she was back in the days when she was teaching at an English center. So when she entered her school, right? So she just tried to listen, try to follow the existing norms that are like held by the colleagues there.
I like what you said there. Thank you for that insight, Hui. I like what you said there with, the existing norms, and I think we need to be able to draw the line between humility, right? I can understand that there's a certain level of humility that's expected from somebody who's new to a workplace. I'm not going to say, necessarily how to do with X number of years of experience, but any workplace you come into, where no matter what the job, there's a certain expectation that you be a bit humble and not,
Yeah,
come in and act like an elephant in a china shop, right? You come in and you go, hey, I'm big and I've got all this knowledge, I'm newly qualified, etc., etc. So I admire that little sense of humility. But we have to be able to draw the line where, okay, there's humility and there's confidence, and if the teachers feel, right, not just humble because they're the newbies in the school and in the profession, but then if they're really put down, or if there's something in the environment that constantly reminds them that they're the novice, then they'll never grow, right? It's what I mentioned earlier about language teacher education, teacher development. It needs to be developmental. So that's really interesting, that insight. But we've got a couple more challenges that we're going to talk about, and we've got time for that. So
This show is brought to you in partnership with John Catt Educational, publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. Don't miss out. Level up your professional development today and visit johncattbookshop.com to explore the full range of titles. Use the code JCTTR2425 for 20% off your order. Happy reading.
Parentkind are a national charity representing parent views and voice and championing parental participation in education and school life. By fostering strong school-parent partnerships, we can boost student attendance, improve behaviour, and enhance academic performance. When parents actively participate, students thrive. Join the movement that's reshaping education for the better. Visit parentkind.org to learn more about reaping the rewards of working in partnership with parents.
Are you ready to enhance your assessments in a world where AI is transforming education? Join Toddle for an exclusive event, Designing Assessments with AI, a live session tailored just for UK educators. Explore practical strategies to keep your assessments both effective and fair as AI continues to reshape education. Hear from experts Darren Coxon and Dale Bassett, who'll guide you through designing authentic assessments and navigating AI's biggest challenges. It's happening on December the 2nd from 4 to 6:30 p.m. Don't miss out on this opportunity to discover how you can adapt your assessment strategies for the future of education. Register for free at toddleapp.com/UKAI and secure your spot now.
Hey educators, ready to kickstart 2025 with world-class inspiration? Then don't miss Bet UK, happening January 22nd to 24th in London. Get fired up in our high-energy arena hosted by Laura McInerney, with an incredible lineup. Hear from racing driver and inclusion advocate Nicholas Hamilton, and the poetic power duo Michael Rosen and Christian Foley. Plus, don't miss the legendary Stephen Fry discuss the human approach to AI. Explore hundreds of hours of unmissable content, the latest edtech, and free CPD opportunities to supercharge your skills. All for free, so why wait? Head to betshow.com and book your ticket now. Let's make 2025 your best year yet.
spoiler alert, Bet UK 2025 Teachers Talk Radio will be there. Come look for us, come talk to us, and maybe you'll be our new host or a guest on one of our shows in the future. But today, let's talk about today and not about Bad UK. Today, I have Hui from Vietnam, and we're talking about the challenges that early career teachers, English language teachers, have to navigate. We were just talking about the system of pronouns and that system of hierarchy and the perception that the novice teacher is the novice teacher and still has so much to learn from the seasoned, more senior teacher at a school, despite having completed 4 years of language teacher education. The next challenge we want to talk about is the mismatch between theory, between second language acquisition methodology that's been taught in language teacher education programs and what novice teachers are expected to do at school. So at university they learn all about the communicative method, communicative language teaching, and other interesting student-based, learner based methods. But when they go into school, they're confronted with something totally different. Hui, over to you.
Yeah. So I'll take it from here. So it is true. During their teacher education program, these in the context of Vietnam, the student they got to learn a lot about how awesome the COT, the communicative language teaching approaches can be, how promising it can be in improving students' communicative competence, and even during their practicum time, they still had a chance to do that with the student from like I said, the local school. But soon, when they finally start their teaching career, these novice teacher will experience a phenomenon called reality shock, because it just took them weeks to find out that what they have been equipped so far, really, like you said, mismatch with the expected teaching approach that they should be implementing in their classroom, which focus heavily on forms, and by forms I mean grammatical structure, vocabulary, because their students have to take lots of standardized exams, which have very little space for speaking or writing. Instead, the question items in these standardized tests are just multiple choice, or maybe when it comes to writing, the student they are always they always receive some kind of prompts, which put them which require them to have a fixed answers to it.
So you would say then that the kind of tests that students in school get are more focused on knowledge about language rather
Yes.
than knowledge about language use, isn't it? And what you're saying also with a lot of the items, the answers expected are, there's only one possible answer. So again, the tests don't allow for variation in language use, or so if we're doing, I don't know what, I can't think of anything at the moment, something wrong with my brain, we're coming to the end of the year. But if let's say we're talking at a very elementary level, and somebody has got to complete a dialogue. Here it is. Somebody's got to complete a dialogue where you have a two part. Yeah, so you have one part maybe would be a question, and the second part is you have to look for an answer. And let's say the first question, we're looking at I need you to try and imagine this, and also the audience, please, our listeners, I'd like you to try and imagine this. So you've done present simple and you've done present progressive / present continuous, and you've taught your class so some fixed conversational routines. And let's say you have the question, does your son play the piano versus is your son playing the piano? At a very formal level, you need the student to, let's say yes, he does play the piano, or no, he doesn't, right? And I would say that that's the kind of answer that you expect from the student formally. And a student can't say, for example, to the question, does your son play the piano? That's my doorbell. Sorry, folks. Does the son play the piano? Does your son play the piano? You would not expect an answer like, no, the violin, because that's not appropriate. Have I understood you correctly there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
precisely.
Yeah. Could you give us another example of such a question, please?
Wow, there's so many of them. So it can be in terms of like you said, like a dialogues, or it can be in terms of like a sentence transformation kind of thing, like where you will be like required to they give you like a sentence, and then like a kind of clue, like a specific word or term, and your job is to rephrase that sentence using the phrases or the word that has been given to you. Yeah, as a matter of fact, like you said, so this like drive the student, like this is more like accuracy driven, so the student are expected to know how to use that word in the new sentence. All right, but at the same time, like in reality, we have so many ways to send like the same kind of message, right? But in that kind of test, the student they are not allowed to do so.
Yeah, so there's no creativity, right? There's no
Yeah, there's no
creativity.
there's no flexibility in terms of using, like you said, language use, right?
Yeah.
But like in contrast, the student they have to uh, have like a fixed answer to a particular question in the test.
Yeah, so that's a real mismatch, because
Hmm.
if we look at communicative language teaching and then other offshoots, problem-based learning, task-based learning, it actually doesn't prescribe. Technically, we don't prescribe the one correct answer. And do you think then that maybe that's a Western-centric view?
Mm.
Imposing these methodologies and teaching these in language teacher education programs, but not so focusing on these methodologies rather than perhaps extending your novice teacher's knowledge, in the sense that, okay, these are the methodologies, but here's how you could implement it in a very exams based culture. Do you know what I mean? Did I just ramble?
Kind of, but I, I quite see like your point here. So yeah, as a later part when you say like we should have, right, like during the teacher education program, we should have informed these like future teachers like the various ways that they can actually apply this particular method to their own context. But sadly, that has been missing in how we train the student teachers in Vietnam. So like most of the time they just aware of the, okay, so this is like okay, communicative language teaching. We value communicative activities where students can have a lot of chance to speak, to write, whatever. But then but when they actually place in their own context, the mismatch happens, and they have like almost like no like nothing to rely on apart from themselves. So that is really like a struggle for these
Hmm.
novice teachers. Yeah, because
Yeah.
like they haven't been prepared for that. Like even when they have, it will be in a form, just like an informal, through like informal conversations with their like teacher trainers. It's not like actually in the modules, in the subjects that they learn during
Mm.
their university years.
Okay. And what you've described, is that how they navigate? Is that
Hmm.
how they navigate this mismatch? I mean, the reality shock. Is that how they
Yeah,
they navigate?
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Oof, I'm a little bit thrown out of sync because my doorbell rang twice, and that's kind of got me all shocked myself. That's my reality shock.
should
Um,
you answer it?
no, no, no. It's it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
Somebody else answered the doorbell, but thanks for asking. Um, Another thing, I think, another challenge that we had, that you had shared with me briefly before, was about parental expectations.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's a
I
real
mean,
problem.
that's a real problem.
Hmm.
What why is this a problem, and how do your novices um navigate this, or do your novices just say, "Oh, go speak to the more senior teacher"?
So, like I said, I'm doing like a research projects about this matter, and according to my novice teachers participants, so the way they navigate it different are different, and why is it such a problem? Because like when it's extending to the parents, so it also extends to like the picture of like the socio-economic status of the parents, and like I talked to two of my participants. They have problems with the parents of their students, and like one of the novice teachers, she's currently working in like a private school, and where the students, where the parents have to pay, like lots of money for their children to enroll, and that according to that teacher, so it gives the student like some sense of power, like a complete authority over the teachers themselves. All right. So whenever there is like a student acting out or something, and
Mm-hmm.
when a teacher is trying to give some advice in correcting the behaviors, so there's a chance that the same teacher will be reacted in a very aggressive way by the students themselves, and the student actually say like our parents pay a lot of money for us to be here. Uh, Sort of things like that, and that caught my participant off guard, and she was like really shocked, really frustrated, and she didn't know what to do. And that was the first case. Yeah. And the second case is for another teacher who worked in a public school. When it comes to he worked in a public school, so for the story is like so because like the student are suffering was suffering from like the heats of the weather, right? So this teacher figure out like, okay, we should do something, for example like installing a system of air conditioning, and that requires money, right? That requires funding, and the teachers like got the permission from most of the parents, but not all of them. So most of the parents agree to that decision of installing the AC system. But like there was one particular parent going against it. So he accused the teacher of violating the rules. He accused the teacher of forcing the student to forcing the agreement of the student or the parent about this particular decision, which cost the parent lots of money. And this parent was in the working class, so he has to work really hard to earn the money. He's a single dad, by the way, and he was really frustrated when he discovered that he had to pay an extra amount of money other than the school fee for his child to study. So that those are the two stories about like how parents can how novice teacher can be is in a very problematic situation with the parents of their students. And like these novice teacher, they will never prepare for that, right? So in order to navigate the situation, they talk to a more seasoned teacher or their manager, their leader, in terms of the ways to deal with these parents complaint.
Yeah, I mean that's parental involvement of the worst kind, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
A couple of, I don't know, earlier in November we had a show on Teachers Talk Radio about parental involvement, and we talked about all the positives of parental involvement in our children's schools. But the example that you give, I think that really is, it can go two ways. It can be really positive parental involvement, and
Mhm.
you also have the really negative parental involvement where it's just too much, where it's also probably the wrong kind of involvement.
Mhm.
And what I thought really interesting, what you said, which actually brought me back to the show that we had done with Parent Kind. So they're one of our sponsors at the moment. Um, is what one of is what our host said, and that as teachers you're never actually prepared. You're not taught. You've got no training. You're not prepared for those difficult conversations with parents. I think no matter where in the world, that is something that you're just not prepared for. And that does make it even, for the novice teacher, that's even harder if you're just fresh out of teacher education. And I think we're kind of circling back, because what you shared with how your novice teachers navigate, this challenge, what they do is to refer back to the senior teacher, right? They
Mm.
refer back to the more experienced teacher. That kind of keeps that hierarchy rolling, isn't it? The
Yeah,
experienced, the
it's true.
seasoned teacher will always will feel that they'll never be able to let go of the novice teacher, because the novice teachers, or even 5 years after being in the school, that novice teacher will still be, because of the pronouns, because of the terms of address, they will still be kind of indebted or attached, so
It's
to
true.
speak.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. That's why so we have like so for us, like we are doing it the project, and so it kind of look at the kind of problems that novice teachers are facing. These problems, they are never separated. They are actually interconnected with each other. Yeah, so that's that. And like you said, like it keep coming back to the power dynamics that are played out
Mm,
within the school climate, right? And that's why the novice teachers, uh they 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 don't so they find it hard to let go because they cannot function on their own, right?
yeah,
And yeah, so at least during the first few years in the school environment.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's just some really amazing insights. And you know what? That's really all we have time for today. It's 7 o'clock for you in Vietnam. I know it is probably dinner time. Thank you ever so much, Hui, for
Yeah, my
sharing
pleasure. My pleasure.
sharing your insights with us. And before we finish our show, everyone, I'd like to shout out for two other shows this week. It's not a preference or anything. It's just I know that these are coming up. If you're interested, Danielle on the Late Late Show tomorrow discusses effective feedback, so feedback that works. And Adam and Brent on Education Tonight on Thursday talk about the sixth form strikes, and what can be done to support post 16 students, or students in post 16 education. So, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for being with us today. And remember to like and subscribe to receive notifications of all our upcoming shows, and to support Teachers Talk Radio. And once again, thank you so much, Wei, for joining us
My pleasure.
today live from Vietnam after work on a rainy day and with a cold. Have a good one, everyone.
Yeah.
You've been listening to Teachers Talk Radio. Tune in live and listen back at ttradio.org. We look forward to hearing from you next time on Teachers Talk Radio.